Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Part 2. This is my speech practice. Point 17 of Book 1. To the gods I am indebted for having good grandfathers, good grandparents. I already messed it up. To the gods I am indebted for having good grandfathers, good parents, good sister, good teachers, good associates, good kinsmen and friends, nearly everything good. Further, I owe it to the gods that I did not rush into any offense against any of them, though I had a tendency which, if the opportunity had arisen, might have led me to do something of this kind. But, through their favor, there never was a set of circumstances which might put me to the test. Further, I am thankful to the gods that I was not brought up with my grandfather's concubine any longer than I was, and that I persevered the flower of my youth. And that I did not prove my virility before the proper age. But even the time that I was subjected to a ruler and a father who was able to take away all conceit from me, and to help me to realize that it is possible for a man to live in a palace without wanting neither guards or fancy clothing, or torches and statues, and such things for show, but that it is in such a man's power to bring himself very close to the lifestyle of a private citizen, without being for this reason neither meaner in thought or more remiss in action, with respect to the things which must be done for the public interest in a manner that benefits a ruler. I thank the gods for giving me such an adoptive brother, Lucius Verus, who was able by his moral character to rouse me to vigilance over myself, and who at the same time pleased me by his respect and affection. That my children have not been slow nor physically deformed, that I did not become more proficient in rhetoric, poetry, and the other studies in which I should perhaps have been completely engaged if I had seen that I was making progress, that I made haste to place those teachers who brought me up in positions of honor, which they seemed to desire, without putting them off with hope of my doing in some time after, because they were then still young, that I knew Apollonius, Rusticus, Maximus, that I received clear and frequent impressions about living according to nature, and what kind of life this is, so that so far as dependent on the gods and their gifts and help and inspirations, nothing hindered me from forthwith living according to nature, though I still fall short of it through my own fault, and through not observing the admonitions of the gods, and may almost say their direct instructions, that my body has held out so long in such a kind of life, that I never touched either Benedicta or Theodos, and that after having fallen into lustful passions, I was cured, and though I was often irritated with Rusticus, I never did anything of which I needed to repent, that though it was my mother's fate to die young, she spent the last years of her life with me, that whenever I wished to help any man in his need or on any other occasion, I was never told that I had not the means of doing it, and that I never found myself needing to receive such assistance from another, that I have such a wife, so obedient and so affectionate and so straightforward, that I had abundance of good tutors for my children, and that remedies have been shown to me by dreams, both others and against spitting blood and giddiness, and that when I had an inclination to philosophy, I did not fall into the hands of any sophists, and that I did not waste my time on writers of histories, or in resolving logical syllogisms, or occupy myself the investigation of appearances in the heavens, and all these things require the help of gods and fortune. Among the Quadi at the river Granua. End of book 1. Book 2. Begin the morning by saying to yourself, I shall meet with the busybody, the ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, unsocial. All these things happen to them because of their ignorance of what is good and evil. But I, who have seen that the nature of the good is beautiful, and that the bad is ugly, and that the nature of he who does wrong is akin to me, not only of the same blood or seed, but that it participates in the same intelligence and the same proportion of the divinity, I can neither be injured by any of them, for no one can fix on me what is ugly, nor can I be angry with my kinsman, nor hate him. For we are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of the upper and lower teeth, to act against one another, then in contrary to nature, and it is acting against one another to become frustrated and to turn away. Whenever this is that I am, it is a little flesh and breath, and the ruling part. Throw away your books. No longer distract yourself. It is not allowed. But as if you were now dying, despise the flesh. It is blood and bones and a network of nerves, veins, and arteries woven together. See the breath also. What kind of a thing is it? Air, and not always the same, but every moment sent out and again sucked in. The third then is the ruling part, considered thus. You are an old man, so no longer let this be a slave. No longer be pulled by the strings like a puppet to an unsocial movement. Social? Yes. No longer either be dissatisfied with your present lot or shrink from the future. All that is from the gods is full of providence. That which is from fortune is not separated from nature or without an interweaving and involution with the things which are ordered by providence. From hence all things flow, and there is besides necessity, and that which is for the advantage of the whole universe, of which you are a part. But something is good for every part of nature, if brought by the nature of the whole. And what serves to maintain this nature? Now the universe is preserved by the changes of things compounded of the elements, as by the changes of the elements themselves. Let these principles be enough for you. Let them always be fixed opinions. But cast away your thirst for books, so that you may not die mourning, but cheerfully, truly, and from your heart thankful to the gods. Remember how long you have been putting off these things, and how often you have received an opportunity from the gods and yet do not use it. You must now at least perceive of what universe you are a part, and of what administrator of the universe your existence is an outflowing, and that a limit of time is fixed for you. And if you do not use it for clearing away the clouds from your mind, it will go and you will go with it, and it will never return. Every moment think steadily as a Roman, and a man to do what you have in hand with perfect and simple dignity, and feeling of affection, and freedom, and justice, and to give yourself relief from all other thoughts. And you will give yourself relief if you do every act of your life as if it were the last, laying aside all carelessness and passionate aversion from the commandments of reason, and all hypocrisy and self-love and discontent with the portion which has been given to you. You see how few are the things which, if a man lays hold of them, he is able to live a life which flows in quiet and is like the existence of the gods. Because the gods, for their part, will require nothing more from him who observes these things. Do wrong to yourself. Do wrong to yourself, my soul, but you will no longer have the opportunity of honoring yourself. Every man's life is sufficient, but yours is nearly finished. Though your soul does not yet revere itself, but places its happiness in the souls of others. Do these things external which fall upon you distract you? So do the external things distract you? Give yourself time to learn something new and good, and cease to be whirled around. But then you must also avoid being carried about the other way. For those two are triflers who have wearied themselves in life by their activity, and yet have no object to which to direct every movement, and in a word, all their thoughts. Though not observing what is in the mind of another man has seldom been to be unhappy, but those who do not observe the movements of their own minds must necessarily be unhappy. You must always bear this in mind. What is the nature of the whole? And what is my nature? And how this is related to that? And what kind of a part is it of which kind of a whole? And that there is no one who hinders you from always doing and saying the things which are according to the nature of which you are a part of. Theophrastus, in his comparison of bad acts, such as a comparison as one would make in accordance with the common notions of mankind, says, like a true philosopher, that the offenses which are committed through desire are more blamable than those which are committed through anger. For someone who is excited by anger seems to turn away from reason with a certain pain and unconscious contraction, but someone who offends through desire, being overpowered by pleasure, seems to be, in a sense, more intemperate and more womanish in his offenses. Rightly then, in a way worthy of philosophy, he said that an offense which is committed with pleasure is more blamable than one which is committed with pain. On the whole, one is more like a person who has been first wronged and through pain is compelled to be angry, whereas the other is moved by his own impulse to do wrong, being carried towards doing something by desire. Since it is possible that you may depart from life in this very moment, regulate every act and through accordingly, and thought accordingly. But if there are gods, going away from among men is not a thing of which to be afraid, because the gods will not involve you in evil. But indeed they do not exist, or if they have no concern about human affairs, what is it to me to live in a universe devoid of gods or devoid of providence? But in truth, they do exist, and they do care for human things, and they have put all the means in man's power to enable him not to fall into the reels of evil. And as to the rest, if there was anything evil, they would have provided for this also, that it should be altogether in a man's power not to fall into it. Now, how can that which does not make a man worse make man's life worse? But neither through ignorance, nor having the knowledge but not the power to guard against or correct these things, it is possible that the nature of the universe has overlooked them. Nor is it possible that it has made so great a mistake, either through want of power or want of skill, that good and evil should happen indiscriminately to the good and to the bad, but death certainly, and life, honor and dishonor, pain and pleasure, all these things equally happen to good men and bad, being things which make us neither better nor worse. Therefore, they are neither good or evil. How quickly all things disappear in the universe, the bodies themselves, but in time the memory of them. What is the nature of all sensible things, and particularly those which attract with the bait of pleasure or terrify by pain, or are widely proclaimed by empty fame? How worthless and contemptible and sordid and perishable and dead they are. All this is the part of the intellectual faculty to observe too who these are whose opinions and voices give reputation, what death is, and the fact that if a man looks at it in itself and by the abstractive power of reflection resolves into their parts all the things which present themselves to the imagination in it, he will then consider it to be nothing else than an operation of nature. And if anyone is afraid of an operation of nature, he is a child. This, however, is not only an operation of nature, but is also a thing conducive to the purposes of nature, to observe to how man comes near to the deity, and by what part of him, and when this part of man is so disposed. Thank you very much. This will be it for now. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you understand what I'm reading. It's very good practice. Very, very good practice. I am trying to strengthen my accent whilst at the same time get more fluent with speaking and reading. So, blessings be upon you. Wish you a great day. See you in part 3, maybe. Enjoy your day.